Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Fingun, an anime boss rush shmup. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Pixel Teriyaki and publisher Gamazumi, Fingun released to the Nintendo Switch and Steam in March of 2022. Now, before I go any further, I just want to warn you that this game does lean heavily in the lewd direction, so if that's something that you're offended by or it's not what you're interested in, then I definitely recommend taking a pass on this game. With that said, it's a relatively fun and enjoyable boss rush shoot 'em up that has a great price point and some wonderful pixel art. So if that's something that interests you, then it might be worth, and you don't mind the lewd content, then it might be worth taking a look at. It's from developer Pixel Teriyaki, who I have covered a game from in the past, Super Weekend Mode, so I was looking forward to trying another shoot 'em up from that developer. And this one has certainly been a fun one to try out, if a little on the easy side, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So what kind of content do we have here? Diving into the main menu, there are a few options here, and once again, if lewd content is not your thing, then I definitely recommend avoiding the gallery. We also have some ability to look at some of our achievements here. That's what the challenges are. Settings are relatively basic, and then under the play menu, we have training, which will just teach you the basics of the shooting and the movement, your normal mode, which is the only/default mode, level select so you can play any stage that you've unlocked throughout the course of your gameplay, and customize. In customize, you can choose your ship's body. We've got all these different shapes and like colors that you can possibly set up. It's actually a lot of fun that there's like that much variety. So we'll go ahead and stick with the default for that. And then you've got a ton of cute shields. So the shield itself is a little bit like dull by default, so I chose the star as I just think it's adorable. Then we also have the minigun. This will basically be your option you get as you power up. Same with the shield, of course. And there are a lot of cute options presented here as well. So we'll just go with the default on this one. Starting the game in normal mode, we're launched right into the game, which, as I mentioned, is a boss rush. So right off the bat, we're fighting like the first boss in the game. In this case, Momo Miyazaki is the name of this boss. So the basic story of Fingun is that these giant anime girls have invaded the planet, and well, we're the powerful Fingun, so we need to defeat these anime girls by basically blasting their clothes off. There are a few bosses that aren't just like these giant like anime girls, though, so that's something to note. The patterns that the bosses use are like fairly like fun and different. And one of the things that like is like I can note about this game is it's kind of the shoot 'em up where you'll play through and you'll like usually die a few times, or at least take a few hits on the bosses until you learn their patterns. Once you do, it'll be a little bit easier to maybe get through without taking a loss of life, or even like being able to 1cc the title itself. There are a total of 14 stages in the game, so that's something to keep in mind. As far as what we have mechanic-wise, so we have the ability to flip our ship. We can go and face left, or we can face right. And not so much with this boss, but with others, that mechanic will come quite important if you want to have a chance at finishing the fight in any kind of timely fashion. It is possible to power up throughout the course of your gameplay as you get breaks, basically destroying various like parts of the boss, as it were. You have the chance to get various like power-ups. So defeating a boss will usually get you a life up as well as some power-ups, and it's also you also do get some points for defeating the boss as well. Just about there on this one, and bam! So we got our final like break, boss defeated, and unfortunately we didn't get a power up, but we did get a life up. So from here, the transitions between the stages are relatively seamless. We're gonna like pop to a different boss real quick. So now we find ourselves fighting the boss from stage 4. So this is Manscape. Initially, you've got like these 3 like onion looking like dudes that we are fighting here, and throughout the course of the game, now we've got some power-ups going on. So one power-up will get you an option. The second power-up gets you your second option. Then we get afterwards you get shields with your 4th and 5th power-ups, and then from there we start to power up, or the shields give the ability to start shooting. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to the point where I've fully powered up my ship. Oh, look at the adorable star! I absolutely love it. Anyway, so now we've gotten to the midpoint of the fight. We actually have the true form of the boss, Manscape. So one thing I do want to note is, in addition to having some great pixel art, there's a wonderful soundtrack in this game, and it really makes it enjoyable while you're fighting the bosses to have some really excellent tunes to jam to in the process. So yet another big plus for this title is its soundtrack. So as you can see, this is a boss that's forcing us to pick a side and move direction, or flip around the direction we're firing to have an easy shot of defeating the boss. The game does do a good job of warning you when bosses are using particular attacks or moving locations with those warning signs. So keep an eye out for those, and you should have an easy time defeating most of the bosses. And that's one thing that I was mentioned a little bit in the opening of the video, is that the game does veer a little towards the easy side for the most part. You do have infinite continues, but if you complete the game, then it does give you a summary of your total lives, or rather continues used. So I did pretty well getting through most of the game with minimal continues, but then on the final boss I did use 32 continues my first time through, so just some patterns that were a little bit difficult to get. One thing to note, I should have mentioned this earlier, but when you die, you don't respawn automatically. You have to press the fire button to respawn. So if we're in a position like that where we're actually behind where the boss would be at, we can delay our spawn till we get to a more advantageous point in the boss's pattern. So we're going to jump to another boss to finish things up. Here we find ourselves at the boss of stage 9. So this is Tako and Midori, and especially with a character like Tako, I guess it's a good time to mention some of the titles that this definitely has some inspiration from. So if you enjoy shoot 'em ups like Parodius and Chouaniki, and just in that kind of vein, this one might be one that would definitely be up your alley. As far as the plus flavors are concerned, well, actually, let's talk about the minus flavors. So there's 2 things that I do want to mention. So as I was mentioning, the game is a little bit on the easier side of things overall. Once you've played through a boss a couple times, you should have you shouldn't really have any difficulty in getting through the boss fights themselves. But it would be nice to have a harder difficulty setting to make the game more of a challenge and to add some replayability for those that are looking to continue tackling the title itself. And also just the fact that this title just isn't for everybody. So with the lewd content that it does have, I know that'll definitely limit its audience a fair bit. That said, the plus flavors, so the game really does have a wonderful soundtrack that just helps make each boss fight that much more enjoyable. The pixel art is truly wonderful, with a little bit of a different take on character design, and with this kind of gameplay, it's kind of a bit refreshing in a lot of ways. And ultimately, the title is just got some just simple and enjoyable fun. So, with that said, some caveats aside, this game does receive a recommendation from the chef. Alright, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.